A lot of people talk about relationship building, right? They're like, oh, well, I'm a relationships building kind of salesperson. That's where they stay. That's where they're focused. There's a bunch of different sales guy profiles. The problem with relationship building is you may have a relationship with a person, but it doesn't mean you're closing them on anything at all. You have to build rapport, right? Eventually, you have to then move it to the next stage of the deal. The problem a lot of times with relationship building is basically you stay as their friend and you never move on to the stage where you're a consultant, right? And kind of the difference between, and that's why we call them client consultants versus, account executive. Client consultants are solving problems. Sales guys are selling boxes, widgets, sending quotes, right? And you have to do those things, but inherently the client consultant has more value. People would come out to my sheriff's office. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're close to nothing. They would call me up and say, hey, can I take you to lunch? I just happen to be in the area. Okay, well, number one, no, you're not. You started out with a lie. You're not anywhere near my office. No one's near my office. And then number two, I can buy my own lunch. Is my interaction with that individual valuable in my eyes as a customer? No, it's not. But as a client consultant, because you're bringing value to the table, because in the customer's eyes, you're a recognized expert in this area, you have this wealth of knowledge. Our company has this wealth of knowledge. You have a wealth of knowledge. And they know that you are going to solve their problem. If I were to call up any of our customers today and say, hey, I'm in the area, can I take you to lunch? They would probably drop everything they're doing unless it's really important and go to lunch with me without notice at all. And they know the reason is because they know that going to lunch with me or a client consultant or somebody that's solving their problems, that at the end of the day, I'm going to say, okay, what problems do you have? Okay, that's my problem now. And I'm going to help you fix this issue. And then you never have to ask for the close because they want the problem solved. And the only thing standing in the way is maybe budget. And the thing is if you haven't already addressed the budget thing up front, then you probably shouldn't have ever gotten to this point. So something to think about when you're talking to customers is making sure that you're showing up and solving their solutions and their problems, owning the issue, making sure that you handle things for them as opposed to just selling them a box. That's indistinguishable. If you're just selling a box, a website can do that. A website cannot be a client consultant. Own and solve people's issues. Once you've built rapport, once you've solved a handful of issues, client trusts you. Now what happens next is we have that trust with the client and they know that we operate it with integrity. Sometimes we're going to say, hey, we can't do that thing, right? We don't do those things. We can help you. We can find a partner to help you solve that problem. But what we want to do is we want to get in the role of basically helping the customer accomplish their long-term objectives. What that means is basically once a year or once a quarter or once every 6 months, we're going to sit down with the customer and say, hey, so anything past 5 years is a little bit far for tech. So let's talk about 2 years, right? So what we're going to do is over the next 2 years, we want to accomplish these things. And then we're going to basically work that backwards, creating some projects, creating some rough budgetary numbers around each project. Then at the end of that, we can say, okay, Mr. Customer, you need to go ask for $10 million for this year because we're going to accomplish these 40 projects, right? And we know how long those are going to take. We know what order they're going to go in. What you have to understand is coming back to the earlier example, if the customer could solve their own problem, they probably already would have. And so they're asking you to be that consultant, be that expert in the room, use the years of experience that we have invested here at each of our companies and basically say, hey, look, I can help you solve your problems. I want to be on the budgeting side of things. I'm going to help you with your actual job and say, okay, we're going to help you establish these budgets by setting these rough estimations, budgetary numbers on each project. That's the place you want to be at. Creates a very sticky account. And it's a very, very important strategic tool you can do to make sure that customer is always going to go with you and you're their first call. That's the most important thing.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.